we can get started with our service. Yeah. Welcome home, everybody. Wonderful. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, is it chilly? Could we close? Thank Dawn. Would you mind closing the door? Let's start with the door and then the heat. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Susan Dyhep, and I'm a platform person, and so nice to see everybody here today. Um, we get to welcome our ministerial team today. We have Reverend Marjorie Brach, and our musician is Astra Fox. And our technician is Bill, with Dawn as backup. And our usher is Gladys Finucane. And let's stand up for our first song.
All right, this one's really easy. The lyrics are, I choose love, I choose joy, I choose peace, and then I choose love again. So I want to hear you all support me with this. And then we sing the na-nas, and that's when you get to rock out. So here we go. I choose love, 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 I choose love. Oh, oh. Na 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 na. I choose joy, 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 I choose joy. Oh, oh. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. I choose peace, 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 I choose peace. Oh, oh. Na 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 na. I choose love, I choose love, I choose love, I choose love. Oh, oh. Beautiful.
What a great way to start our service. Let's celebrate Astra again. Oh, I feel great now. Wow. Let's have some prayer. Let's take all that joy and that celebration of the blessings and beauty of this day right down into our hearts. Let it resonate in our minds. Let it remind us of the abundant good in our lives, here and now, in this place, and wherever we go. That underlying all, no matter the appearances, there is abundant good to be celebrated in each moment. And we're grateful to be remembering that today in this service. We're grateful, so grateful to know the truth together. And so it is. Amen.
Let's say together our March sacred prayers for inner peace. I claim divine peace in this moment. For wisdom, I claim divine wisdom to know the way forward. For health, I claim divine strength, health, and vitality in every moment. And for strength, I claim the courage of divine strength. For world harmony, I claim divine love to spread harmony throughout the world. This is our time to greet each other. And I got a lot of announcements for you. So first, immediately following service, before our workshop, hold on. We have a outreach team that's been meeting and trying to build us as a community, and they have a survey on the back table all ready to go on clipboards. If you can, they don't have to be complete sentences. They would really appreciate your feedback so that they can take that back to the committee. So we'll be passing them out and encouraging you to take a minute if you can, fill it out before you leave so we can get it right back to the committee. And Astra, tell us about the workshop today after service.
Thank you. So in addition to being a musician, I'm also a certified life coach, a spiritual life coach, and I'm an expert in the subconscious mind. So one of the things I love teaching about is the subconscious mind, how our thoughts create our reality from a subconscious place, and how to use music as a tool for rewriting those neural pathways in our brain to support the things that we're telling ourselves, to support our beliefs and our thoughts. So this workshop is called Musical Mantras for Your Mindset. So I'm going to be teaching you a really simple and powerful mindset tool, and then we're all going to be writing our own mantras for ourselves to empower ourselves for the dreams and goals that we have.
Awesome. So I hope you guys can plan to stay after for that. And then, see, a lot going on. Starting tomorrow. Terry, would you mind telling us a little bit?
So, our subconscious holds some of the reasons for our weight gain or lack of loss thereof. So, together, we will do a guided meditation on weight loss. And so it will be every Monday. And if you have a different issue than weight, come and join us anyway, because you'll gain from that as well.
And while you're standing, this Wednesday is also going to be, Terry, go ahead.
So this Wednesday, I'm teaching a class on releasing cords. So we are connected with each other in an energetic way, and sometimes that's to our benefit and sometimes it's not. So what we'll do, you'll learn how to identify cords that need to be released, how to do that, and what to do with the cord once you don't have it anymore. So you're releasing another person's energy, and cords is kind of a way to visualize what that is.
Thank you. And the time.
It's at 6 to 7:30 on Wednesday, and the weight loss meditation is just for an hour, 6 to 7.
So both are at 6, both here at the center. Monday, an hour, Wednesday, an hour and a half. Okay, so I hope
There's flyers in the back.
And there's flyers in the back. Fabulous. Don't forget, if you want to check out a book, we have books available, including Keep a True Lent by Charles Fillmore, that has daily readings and a unity perspective on our preparation for Easter. That is all of our announcements. So there are daily words in the back, and let me go ahead and let's find our center, take a deep breath, and let it go, and connect to that wholeness and divinity within. The word for today is joy. Joy fills my heart and warms my soul. Today I will view the world through eyes of joy. This mindful practice will make even the most ordinary things seem special, and the things I may have taken for granted seem fresh and new. Even the energy I bring to my relationships will be imbued with harmony and peace. I will feel lighter, kinder, and more connected to the people in my life when I commit to living with joyful intention. Moments of frustration, disagreements with others, and disappointments may disturb my equilibrium for a time, but will not rob me of my joy. I honor God each time I share my joy. I'd like to take that together, so let me say it one more time, and then we'll say it together. So I honor God each time I share my joy. Together, please. I honor God each time I share my joy. As I bless myself by feeling joyful, I bring more love, more peace, and more happiness to the world. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 18:24. Then I'm going to read the reading from the In the Garden Lent booklet for the third Sunday of Lent. Jesus Honored His Calling by Reverend Ellen Davenport. One of the reasons people sometimes hesitate to ask for divine guidance is because they fear what they might be called to do. It could overturn their comfortable lives. Yet many of us have stories of first resisting an idea that turned out to be exactly right for our spiritual path. As we explore the story of Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane on the night of his arrest, we hear him asking for guidance. My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not what I want, but you want, what you want. Matthew 26:39. In the first part of the prayer, Jesus expressed reluctance by asking whether this was really his to do. It was an understandable human response to an unthinkable situation. Maybe he wouldn't have to go through with what he saw coming. Yet, in the same sentence, he immediately released any doubts or questioning and moved into surrender. Yet not what I want, but what you want. In Matthew, Jesus repeated this prayer 3 times. In Luke's version, Jesus was so distraught that his sweat became like great drops of blood falling on the ground. Luke 22:44. An angel appeared to give him strength. Jesus knew that under the oppressive Roman regime occupying Judea, his teachings seemed radical and were easily misunderstood. While his primary teaching was to love one another, it was interpreted by the authorities as rabble-rousing or blasphemy. Despite the danger, Jesus, a few days earlier, had ridden into Jerusalem on a donkey with his followers, shouting hosannas and waving palm fronds. The same time, excuse me, on the other side of town, the Judean governor Pontius Pilate was entering Jerusalem in a military procession with a pageantry fit for an empire whose leader called himself the Son of God. Jesus didn't change his message. This was the week he overturned tables in the temple. In John, it was the week he raised Lazarus from the dead. He didn't hesitate to draw attention, teaching, attracting crowds, performing miracles, and letting the chips fall where they may. Jesus was carrying out what we can clearly see was his soul's purpose. But he didn't get to skip any of the human steps, and neither do we. Living a spiritual life does not exempt us from difficult experiences, including those that are unfair and painful. Jesus might have understood the spiritual reasons behind adversity more clearly than many of us in our most trying times. But we can trust the spiritual reasons exist. We see in Jesus' experience that none of us get to avoid human hardships, even when we know our oneness with the divine. There was no God in the sky willing Jesus into crucifixion. His reference to what you want meant the soul plan worked out for his life, the dangerous mission he had accepted on earth. His calling to live and to teach in this time and place. His example for us is to accept our divine callings and play them out to the very end, trusting that our impact will be larger than ourselves. So let's prepare for meditation.
Magic happens everywhere. Take a breath, you'll find it there. You are a part of it, and I am a part of it. Magic happens everywhere. Take a breath, take a breath. Revolving tide, creating life. You are the one, I am the one. Evolving mind, healing life. You are the one. We are one. You are a part of it, and I am a part of it. Magic happens everywhere. Take a breath, you'll find it there.
The sacred breath. I do invite you to relax where you are. And if you're comfortable with closing your eyes, this is a wonderful time to do that. If you're more comfortable with eyes open, then I do invite you to focus perhaps on the flame of the candle. But wherever your gaze goes, let your gaze be soft. Gentle gaze on what lies before you, what you see around you. And look with gentle eyes on what lies within. For within each and every one of us, the Spirit of the living God is present in all things. And the sounds of life around us only take us deeper in knowing that every bit of loving, living energy, that there is room for it here, in this loving circle of community. And there is room for it in every heart, in every mind, affirming the goodness of the lives that we are promised merely because we are here. And just noticing our breath, just noticing where we're feeling our breath today. If it's in our chest, if it's in the area around our nose or our mouth, let's just notice that breath. Whatever rate or pace or depth to our breath, know that we are enough. And it is enough. That here, in this place, in this moment, all is truly well. And knowing this for ourselves, knowing it in community with like-minded people, we can trust. Even if sounds of the outside world or thoughts of the outside world come to mind right now, we can bless them as well. Bless them knowing that in all things, God is present and active. So let us rest in the silence, knowing this truth in our hearts. And let us give each other the gift of silence. And we are grateful. We are grateful for all that we've seen. We're grateful for all the experiences we've had in our lives, and that they have brought us here to this place, this physical place, but also this place in consciousness, this place from which we clearly see the truth that has always been written on our hearts, that in fact we are the beloved of God, in whom God is well pleased. And we know that moving forward in our lives, in this service, in all that lies ahead, that only good can come of what we know in this day. And we see the good and remember the good, now and always. And so it is. Sure is nice to be with all of you today. Beautiful day. And I'm really been focusing lately on this idea of the good. I didn't grow up in a really traditional religious setting. And unity has been my most committed spiritual practice for quite a long time. Astra was asking me earlier, it was 2006 when I was ordained in unity. And it was 1988 when I first attended a unity service. That's a big chunk of life. And one of the things that I've experienced in this season in unity is I've heard people talking about Lent. And I didn't grow up with that, you know. Oh, we need a little more volume. Thank you. How's that? Better? Better? Okay. I'll bring it closer still. Yeah. So this idea of Lent in unity, I really appreciate because, culturally I've heard about that. And I've heard people say, oh, I have to give this up for Lent. Oh, I have to give this up for Lent. There's always this heavy negative vibe around it. But in unity, I've heard about letting go of negative thinking as a Lenten practice. And I've got to tell you that there have been some real opportunities for negative thinking lately. I don't know about you, But for myself, I've needed the reminder. And it has made a shift because I was really starting to feel very weighed down by a lot of things. And I started trying to find something to be grateful for, even in the very situations that felt like they were pressing down on me. And I was really glad to be reminded of some early Unity teachings about this idea. And they actually come from the firstborn son of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, our Unity co-founders. His name was Lowell, and he was born in the 1880s. And he was 4 years old when his mother went and heard someone talking about things in a way she had never heard before. His mother heard a speaker say, "I am a child of God and I do not inherit sickness." And his mother, Myrtle, took that home with her, and she started working with that idea and taking it into prayer every day, and a number of physical ailments that she had were completely healed. And here's this little guy, he's observing this happening in his mother, and then he's seeing her take what she has learned and experienced and teaching other people how to do that for themselves. He saw his father get on board and starting to go into quiet time every day with these ideas in mind and have a transformative experience. He was 7 years old when his parents started publishing a periodical called Modern Thought that later became known as Unity Magazine. And he was there doing the work with them, and there were the two of them. And so he had a job to do, naturally, and his job was to put together these magazines every Saturday so they could be sent out. And he made 10 cents a week. He was so excited. He didn't know what to do with himself. It was more money than he'd ever had. And, they kept growing and growing. More people wanted to learn what they had to say. And more people started coming and wanting to learn from them and wanted to read what they were writing. And so things got busier and busier. And he ended up having to do things he was really uncomfortable with because who else was going to do it? So his parents asked him when he was a teenager, they said, "You need to be the one to teach the other teens." Well, he didn't feel comfortable telling anyone else what to do, but he realized that he could put into practice these things his parents had been talking about. He could pray, he could smile, he could speak a good word, and he could remember the good in every moment. And he set the tone for YOU, which stands for Youth of Unity, and the way things are still done today. Because it's not about some authoritative person being up in front of the room and telling other people how it is. It's about drawing out the wisdom within each and every one. Well, he graduated high school, and then at that point they'd had an office manager. The office manager left, and his dad said, "Well, guess who's going to be the new office manager?" And he was making $5 a week. It was amazing. He was so rich. But they were asking him to do stuff he was not comfortable with. He's a really shy little guy, young man. And it meant he was going to have to talk to people. He was going to have to supervise employees. He was going to have to, handle accounts and finances and all kinds of stuff he did not know how to do. But he did know how to pray. He knew how to smile and speak the good word and remember the good, and he learned how to do all those things. When Unity finally was incorporated, he was on the board as the board treasurer. And from there, they did more, and they did more. He was involved with every aspect of Unity. He even maintained the printing presses. He did things from the beginning. And that, just remembering these basic things is what got him through. They reached a certain point where his father was just not able to do all he had done before. And when his dad needed to step down, he stepped up as the president of Unity. And you know how some people in that role, they might, be in a big fancy office and have a secretary out front and keep people away from them? That is not what Lowell Fillmore did. For anyone who's ever been to Unity Village, there's some lovely old buildings there. And on one end of what's known as the administration building, there's this big, beautiful room, big open space. And that is where Lowell Fillmore had his desk. And there were multiple doors coming in from all directions, and people were welcome to come in and talk to him at any time. This was the kind of leader he was. He knew people. He wanted to get to know them. Everyone would go to lunch at Unity Inn. He would stand in line with his tray like everyone else. And then he would, go and carry his dishes back after he ate his lunch like everyone else. When he saw a new employee who looked alone, he'd go and he'd sit with them and ask them and say, "Can I sit with you?" And whenever he was there, he went around to every table and had a good word for everyone in the room. And I remember when I was attending school at Unity Village, and Lowell's niece, Rosemary Fillmore Ray, she did the same thing. After she had her meal, she'd go around to every table, and she'd speak the good word and help people remember the good. And it's a formula for living that really works. And it's not new ideas. It's not his original ideas. Just because he wrote it in a book, just because he put it in one of them, it was the first article he wrote. He wrote for 50 years. He wrote a weekly article for Unity. But what he wrote was, remember to smile. Remember to speak the good word, and always remember to remember the good. And this comes right out of our sacred scripture. If you look at the letter to the Philippians, that Philippi was a very busy city in Macedonia. It's presently, we think of it as being in Greece. And this was a letter that was sent to the first Christian community established on the European continent. Now you can imagine they dealt with some stuff. Not everybody was real happy that they were there and thinking about what they were thinking and saying and what they were doing. And it's thought that this letter was written by the Apostle Paul when he was in prison in Rome. And these are the words we find there. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. But in everything, by prayer, let your requests be made known to God. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just or pure, pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there's any excellence, and if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Remembering the good, it's a way to live and to live a wonderful life. I've been reminded of some stories recently of some people who did that exceptionally well. One of them, her name was Hester McCardle Ford. And Hester was born in 1904 in South Carolina. She had a loving, faith-filled family. And I didn't have a lot, but she was still full of blessings. And she ended up meeting and marrying the love of her life. They had 12 children, 8 boys and 4 girls. And she was an amazing woman. She could think of creative solutions for just about any problem. She invented things. I mean, she was just a fount of ideas. And she survived a lot of stuff. You know, she survived the Jim Crow era. She survived many forms of discrimination. She survived 2 pandemics and 21 presidential elections. She became a celebrity. She was in her later years, she was living in North Carolina. She became a big celebrity because she was one, she'd take walks every day. And she'd get out and she'd see people in the community and she'd help them to remember the good in their lives. Well, and after she turned 100, she kept doing the same thing every day. She'd walk to church, she'd walk to her family members' houses, always helping people to remember the good. At a certain point, the bus drivers started making unauthorized stops at her house to take her for her errands. And if someone was having a birthday, you know Hester was going to bake a cake. She passed a few years ago. And at age 115, she was the oldest living American. I think it's a good idea to remember the good. She was an example of that, but someone else's story came to my heart recently too. A woman named Bridget Gurney, and she was born on the border between Switzerland and Austria, and that was back in the 30s, the 1930s. And it was 1985, she was living in Manhattan, and one day she went to the dentist, and it was a beautiful day. I mean, it was 20 blocks to walk home. And normally she'd just get a cab. But that day she thought, it's just too pretty. I have to walk. And so she started making her way, and she was walking by a construction site on 3rd Avenue. And all of a sudden people started screaming. They said, get out of the way. And she didn't know what was going on. But she did really quickly because the pavement was cracking, her bag went flying, and a crane fell on top of her. Everybody was just going crazy around her, they're trying to figure out what's going on. They realized that she was pinned by her legs with the base of the crane, 35 tons of cold metal, and her upper body was hanging out over this deep chasm, this big construction pit, on a piece of plywood. The police officers, they put all their belts together to try to make a human chain to get down to her. And all of Midtown Manhattan stopped that day. You know, and the fire department was there, the police were there, and you know, there was doctors and nurses and heads of hospital, and there were, you know, clergy were there praying, and they didn't know what to do. Now, the mayor at the time, Ed Koch, he said, you've got to get her out of there. Shouldn't you amputate her legs? And the doctors on the scene, they checked her vitals were okay. Her legs were responsive. They said, we have not been doing field amputation since the Civil War. We're not starting now. It took 6 hours, and they managed to get her out of there. They shut all the streets down in Manhattan. They got her to the hospital. They worked all night to reconstruct her bones, her muscles, her vascular system. And it took 13 surgeries, but she was able to walk again. And you know what? This wasn't the worst thing to ever happen to her in her life. You see, it was 1966 when she moved to Manhattan, and it was 1973 when her firstborn son fell in a pool and was lost to drowning. It was 1980 when she survived lung cancer. In 1982, she was riding in a ski gondola that detached and fell to the ground. The next year, her husband died of lung cancer. She never collapsed under the weight of these experiences or the crane incident. And she became like a celebrity because everyone knew her as the crane lady. She was on television, they had her on the radio talking to people. You know, President Reagan called her, First Lady Nancy, she came to visit, and the Cardinal of New York came and prayed with her, and people sought her out. They recognized her, the taxi drivers and other people, and they wanted advice from her. They were so amazed by this woman. And, she said, she would joke around. She says, I'm getting all this attention because I fell into a hole. And she would say, don't get in a plane or a boat with me. She was just amazing. And it was in her much later years, in fact, in her final years, life started catching up with her a little bit. And she had a number of health situations she was dealing with. But probably the hardest one was the dementia. And even with all those things going on, she found solace in music, in family, and friends. And no matter how she was feeling, no matter what was going on, she got out and took a walk in her garden every single day to remember the beauty in life. And for any of you who have experienced, or had, contact with someone who's experienced dementia, you know that memories come and go. And sometimes they're just not there at all. But then all of a sudden they'll pop in. And with all the things she experienced in her life, the memories that would pop in for her were never the traumatic ones. They were always the happy times. Bridget Gurney, the crane lady, she remembered the good. And it's my hope that I can practice that each day myself. If something shows up and it feels like it's dragging me down, let me take a look and find something I can be glad for in that moment. Because for me, for my loved ones, and for so many more, it can make all the difference. Bless you, friends.
Beautiful. Thank you, Reverend Marjorie. I am connected to this divine source of love that guides me through this world. I make an impact with each being I meet. Today is exactly what I need for my highest good. For my highest good, I am worthy. For my highest good, for my highest good. I am worthy. I am accepted by this divine source of love that rises through this world. I make an impact with each heartbeat. I am exactly who I need for my highest good. For my highest good, I am worthy. Would you sing that with me? For my highest good, I am worthy. For my highest good, good again. For my highest good, I am worthy. Let's sing that together one more time. Feel it this time. For my highest good, for my highest good, I am worthy. I am connected to this divine source of love that guides me through this world.
Thank you, Astra. And thank you, Reverend Margie. This is our offering time. So if you would hold in your hand what you would give to be blessed, we'll say our offering prayer together. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Can you bless offering? Thank you. And then let's take our peace song, but remember, right after the peace song, we want you to fill out the survey and then stay for the workshop.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our power. Family all are we. Let let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. Let every step I take, let this be my joyful vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and yes, it be